We're good, Becky.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the open meeting for Thursday, December 22nd, 2022, and ask the Commission Secretary for information on today's agenda.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the minutes of the open meeting of Thursday, December 15th, 2022, and each has informed me there's no need to discuss the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of Thursday, December 15th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the agenda, and each has informed me there's no need to discuss the notices associated with agenda items 2 through 7, the draft notice of hearing and docket 1 AC 258 associated with agenda item 8, the draft final decision associated with agenda item 9, closing docket 690 PFP 100, the draft final decision associated with agenda item 10 in docket 5 BS 264, the draft final decision associated with agenda item 12 in docket 6690 UR 127, or the suggested minute associated with agenda item 13, approving Wisconsin Power and Light Company's revised and restated master supply agreement between Wisconsin Power and Light Company and its affiliated utility Interstate Power and Light Company as filed, and delegating to the Administrator of the Division of Energy Regulation and Analysis authority to approve future renewals or extensions of WPL's master supply agreements when there are no other requested revisions to the terms and conditions of the agreement.
I move we approve the notices of investigation associated with agenda items 2 and 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move we approve the notices of proceeding associated with agenda items 3 through 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For agenda item 8, I move we approve the notice of hearing associated with agenda item 1 AC 258.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For docket 690 PFP 100, I move that we approve the draft final decision closing the docket.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For docket 5 BS 264, I move that we approve the draft final decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For docket 6690 UR 127, I move that we approve the draft final decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For agenda item 13 docket, or I'm sorry, 13. Docket, wrong one in front of me. Sorry, guys. $9501 FE 120. Oh, that's the wrong one.
No, 6680.
6680, wasn't it?
Yeah.
16680 UA 121. I move that we approve the application for the approval of affiliated interest agreement between Wisconsin Power and Light and Interstate Power and Light regarding transfer of supply with all the conditions identified in the memo, and that we also delegate to the Administrator, Division of Energy and Regulation Analysis authority to approve future amendments or extensions that where there are no other revisions to the terms and conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to agenda item 11, which is docket 5-BS-265. This is the joint application of Wisconsin Power and Light Company, Wisconsin Public Service Corporation, and Madison Gas and Electric for approval of the sale and purchase of ownership interests in the West Riverside Energy Center. We have a draft interim order in front of us for approval. We discussed this item at our November 10th, 2022 open meeting. And in that open meeting, I requested additional information from 2 of the applicants, specifically as it relates to the Wisconsin Public Service portion of the transaction. And because Wisconsin Electric Power Company isn't an applicant, I specifically wanted to make clear in this interim order that the information I'm seeking to be added to this record so that I can make a final decision really relates to the impact of the transaction on WEPCO's customers and on Wisconsin Power and Light's customers. So I just have a couple of clarifying edits to make to the draft interim order. And I believe that those changes will be passed out by our general counsel.
Oh, okay.
Yes? No?
Sure. One moment, please. I thought we were just gonna talk through them, but that's fine.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought that you wanted a handout. I can talk through them.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So within the draft interim order, specifically on page 8, there is a paragraph that is titled WPSC System Need and Modeling Overview. And so I just have a couple of very minor changes to that paragraph. It's beginning the sentence that says this additional information. So it's right smack dab in the middle of that paragraph. It says this additional information includes modeling the proposed West Riverside transaction as a PPA. I would insert the words for WP&L and WEPCO, then add a comma, and then it stays modeling then it would just be strike the word utilities. It would just be modeling the capacity position, and then again I would add for WP&L and WEPCO. In the context, and then the rest remains the same in the context of the forthcoming sub-annual resource adequacy construct. The respective value to WP&L and WEPCO ratepayers of the proposed transaction, and whether West Riverside would serve as a capacity resource for WP&L as opposed to an energy resource, depending on natural gas pricing. And then I would insert a comma and the phrase similar to the high gas price modeling previously supplied by WEPCO, period. And that would be the end of my change. And again, I think it's important because WEPCO isn't an applicant in this proceeding, but according to the information that we have, there is a plan to transfer by an affiliated interest agreement at a later date, the ownership interest from Wisconsin Public Service to WEPCO. And so if that is the case, and that was really the basis of a lot of my concern, was, well, what then does this transaction look like for WEPCO customers? So my changes are intended to clarify for WPS and for Power and Light exactly the additional information that I'd like to see before I make a final decision on that transaction.
Is that something you think couldn't be done later if it does get transferred in the transfer docket?
I think yes, it could be done later in the transfer docket, but my concern is I wouldn't want to proceed to the transfer docket until I see the information right now.
Okay, well, okay, I mean, they have to bring the docket forward anyway, so,
Because my inclination is based on what we've seen in this case, that the transfer from Power and Light to Pub Service is not in the best interest of Power and Light's customers. So if it can be shown that the benefit is more than made up for when you look at the WEPCO side of the transaction. I could see my way to a path that it would be in the public interest. Now, I don't know what the modeling is going to show. I don't know what the analysis is going to show. But as it sits right now, absent that information, I wouldn't approve the transaction between Power and Light and Pub Service.
So you're saying it might be better if it's transferred to one than the other?
Right.
Okay.
But I don't know the answer because we don't have that information.
Okay, well, I'm a little confused by that, but well, as you guys know, I would have approved the sale because I thought the initial modeling was adequate. I'm just confused that why it needs to be done in this docket, why it can't be done in a different one, but I dissented on this portion anyway.
Yeah. Right. And the alternative is that I just deny it. And then they can come back. They can always refile. Commissioner Hebner, did you have?
No, I don't have any other edits to this, and I would accept your additions to that. The only thing I would maybe add is I think there's one spot left where it just says WPL, and that's whether West Riverside would serve as a capacity resource for WPNL as opposed to an energy resource. And I guess I would just add, as you have done, I would just add and WEPCO to that. So that we're looking at each of the things we're looking at both WPNL's side and WEPCO's side.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, my concern is I just don't want to make it look like we're prejudging a proposed transfer and where that might go. That's just my overarching concern here.
Yeah, and I guess in an ideal world, there would have been evidence or there would have been something on the record that talked about that transfer. But the fact that they brought it up and said, well, because Pub Service doesn't need it and WEPCO does, Pub Service is going to make the transfer. So Cindy,
I already had one other change in here to add my dissent. I guess if your concern was on WPNL's ratepayers, I'm still trying to figure out the connection with the modeling on the two different ones, but that's fine.
Okay, and you have an additional edit?
No, I already sent that in. You guys just been circulated to note my dissent.
Right.
The footnote.
The footnote.
Yep, okay. All right, yep, that was circulated.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Huebner, where was your additional edit? I'm looking at it now, I didn't have it in the record.
Yep, no problem. Let me get back to it. It was just in the line that says, and whether West Riverside would serve as a capacity resource for WPNL as opposed to an energy resource. It was in that same paragraph that the chair was working off of.
Got it.
And I would just add, and WEPCO.
Got it, thank you. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Motion to approve the final decision as drafted.
Yeah, and I'll just, Cindy, if you can note I wouldn't change the order as it was initially drafted, except with my footnote.
Okay. Oh, that'll be reflected then in the minutes on so you're dissenting on the modification to the order. Okay. So would you prefer if Commissioner Huebner just makes the motion to approve the modified order? need a motion from
I
somebody.
mean, I can make the move, I mean,
Okay.
it'll be noted within that part of the.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I don't think it matters who makes the motion, right?
okay. No, it doesn't matter. I just didn't know if, given we are
Yeah.
approving it as modified, whether that made you not want to make the motion.
Docket 5BS 265, I move that we approve the interim order as modified in today's discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, that moves us to agenda item 14, which is docket 9501-FE-128. And Commissioner Hebner is leading the discussion for this item.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a continuation, and I think the final spot for now on our quadrennial, fourth quadrennium, focus on energy, statewide energy efficiency and renewables administration. And this is for the commission to approve the contract between CERA, the statewide energy efficiency and renewables administration, and APTM to administer the focus on energy program for the next 4 years. The memo highlights that, first of all, there was extensive legal review by the APTM side, by the CERA side, and by our commission staff, including commission legal counsel. There are a few changes that were made related to scope of work, compensation, force majeure, billing rates. The updated budget was finalized, and then there is a performance bonus and penalty structure that would be in place for the next 4 years, with the caveat that a few of the items just have a structure related to the first 2 years of the quad, and then would be reviewed for any changes that may come up as additional research is conducted in those first 2 years and maybe changed for the last 2 years of the quad. The KPIs that are in here relate to customer satisfaction, overall energy savings, utility equity, so making sure that utilities are getting about 90, or an average, minimum average of 90% of their customers are getting that minimum average of 90% for the utilities based on what they're paying in. Income qualified programs as well as rural. And I thought it was a good change that they made to have more of a sliding scale instead of a binary. In the past, it's just been meeting the goal or not. I think there's just a recognition from CERA and APTM about continued supply chain issues, et cetera, coming out of COVID and coming out of just the economic situation that we have right now that would benefit having a sliding scale instead. I thought that was a good improvement. With that, I didn't have any changes to this. I thought that this was a workable structure. And so I would be at alternative 1. I would approve the contract with these performance penalties and bonuses for the 2023 to 2026 contract period. So I'm at Alt 1. And I'll pass to you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Hebner. I'm at the same spot. I was at Alt 1.
Okay. Commissioner Nowak.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. I agree that all the changes that you had mentioned in there, Commissioner Hebner, I have no issues with those. I thought the sliding scale did seem to be more appropriate too with the bonuses. The one thing that I have a hard time with, and I would not approve this based on this, is the cost increase. It's a 14% increase on the administrative technical side of the contract. And that, I know they've, that basically comes out of the incentive side of the budget. There might be a couple savings within some of the administrative side, but we're talking about a reduction of up to 14% of incentives payable to the ratepayers that are paying into this program. And I certainly do recognize, and we've talked about this with, in the past, about costs are increasing for everybody, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an increase in their own costs, but we just had discussions in the last couple of weeks about the utilities needing to tighten their belts. And I was just a little shocked that there wasn't participation by some of the same groups that we saw that in the last few weeks and months talking about more money going away from ratepayers. So the other benefit, I think that when we look at what the utilities are getting, that went through a full audit that was vetted by a lot of stakeholders, and they have to come in and prove their increase. I just don't have enough information here to justify that 14% is the actual number that's needed. So for that reason, I will not be supporting this. I would send it back and have some further negotiation on that cost increase so that we can try to maximize the dollars that are being paid to the ratepayers and incentives.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner. I'm gonna stay where I'm at. For me, I think we know CIRA and Aptum have been heavily, obviously this is a contract between them, and so they landed at these numbers. Our staff was comfortable with it, and the one thing I did note is that number doesn't change, the $8,297,000 that's listed on page 6. That's, their base is gonna be the same for the next 4 years. So no matter what happens with inflation, we're resetting here at this quad, but then they're essentially capped at that for the next 4 years. So I guess I was comfortable because of that. So I don't, Chair, if you had any other comments.
I do not.
Okay. All right, then I will make a motion then in docket 9501 FE 128 that we approve the contract for services between CIRA and Aptum for the 2023 to 2026 contract period.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. That concludes our official business for today. I will note that our next open meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 29th, but that is going to be a virtual meeting. And so before we officially conclude, today is Carrie Templeton's last in-person open meeting. As she concludes 12 years of service with the PSC and 25 years of service with the state of Wisconsin. And unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans because a lot of us aren't able everything that you've done, not just for me, but for the state of Wisconsin. And the thing that impressed me the most about Carrie when I met her and interviewed her the first couple of times was the class and the poise that she possesses, and that she looks at every instance and opportunity through multiple lenses, and she just has such a diversity of experience with the state. She served at a number of departments within the state. She served in she worked in the legislature, she worked in the governor's office, and so her breadth of knowledge and experience is virtually unmatched, and her shoes are going to be very tough to fill. That being said, I have no doubt that the future brings really great things for you, Carrie, and I can't wait to see what unfolds for you and what the next chapter brings. So from me, thank you. from the bottom of my heart. So I don't know, Commissioner Nowak and Commissioner Hebner, if you'd like to bid Carrie farewell.
Yeah, Carrie, we have also gone back many years, back to the legislative days. So it's been more than 12 years. You were here we started at the PSC right at about the same time, and worked in a variety of different areas within the PSC. So I want to thank you for your service there. And then I know that you've been an asset to Becky over the last 4 years, and carrying on that tradition of the strong female leadership at the top that goes back several years. So we appreciate that, and I wish you all the best.
Carrie. We've known each other a long time, too. Some of the earliest meetings, I think, with Carrie were White Arc. You would come and talk about or represent the PSC on interconnection issues when I had a previous role. So we've known each other a long time, and I just think the phrase consummate professional fits you so well. You just are such a great asset to this agency and to the state of Wisconsin, and I'm just not sure we could just say that over and over. So with that, thank you for your guidance and your support. We can't really talk very much, obviously, with the way the PSC is set up, but you've been a great asset, and best wishes in whatever comes next. You got it.
Thanks, everyone. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
The 10th of January? Oh, no, the 28th, you said that.
29th.
I move that we stand adjourned until December, yeah. Move we stand adjourned until December 29th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Bring back some sun. Bring back some sun, Ellen.